Welcome to the Sideball Podcast.
Dude, we love talking about dicks and not really Dota, but like kind of Dota a little bit. It's like an introduction. It's
Be here for the dicks, not the Dota.
Listen. I feel like the Dota is the least interesting part of my life.
And your life is very revolved around Dota.
It is. Well,
esports.
Because I feel like Dota hasn't changed in so long.
Yeah.
It's the same dog shit, everything.
So we have a new patch now.
Would you be happier if Dota was like Fortnite and everyone demanded that every 2 weeks the game was so radically different that it's not the same anymore?
No.
Okay.
No. It's... Listen. I think... I don't want to single out Dota here. Mm-hmm. I think esports in general is just dog shit. So like, I don't want to be like.
Mango just had his birthday bash.
Who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares? Grats, Melee, and if she's in Melee, I fucking love you. I love Melee, but at the same time, who the fuck cares about Melee now?
Rough.
A lot of sad people.
You know, I literally brought Charlie on, and I thought I was gonna have to like kind of set him up to get into his, like, Charlie, again, much like the question thing, Charlie has like these rants, and I have heard the esports rant multiple times, and I just wanted a podcast version of the esports rant, and I thought I was gonna have to like set him up or bait him into it, but you just started off right away. You just immediately were like, esports is garbage.
I mean, we'll see how much I get into it, but listen, I came here directly from a meeting, so I'm already mad.
Okay, so to be clear to our audience, for anybody who doesn't know who Charlie is our guest. He is Charlie Yang. He used to be what people mostly know him as. He used to be the Evil Geniuses manager back in TI5. So he was the guy who was with that team when they
brought my ring.
Won the international. You should have brought your ring.
I would have been like, wow.
I should have brought my ring.
He is very involved in esports. You used to work for Twitch. You used to work for Evil Geniuses.
Yes.
Then they got about by Twitch, right?
Yes. And then when I quit being a manager, dude, I fucking hate these things. When I quit being a manager, I worked for the esports department at Twitch. And I mean, like, this is like one of the worst kept secrets, so I'll just fucking say it. The esports department at Twitch was, and if it still exists, is a giant dumpster fire.
Oh, that's great.
Giant dumpster fire. I mean, it's just like Twitch is actually sort of just a giant dumpster fire now. Anyways, like that fire has spread from the esports department to like almost all the departments.
So you're saying fire safety wasn't a big deal at Twitch? They did not have a whole lot of fire extinguishers out there.
Like we were charged with doing like a bunch of initiatives in esports in our different departments, but you know, due to, I don't know if I'm comfortable going that far.
Sure.
Why?
Don't do that.
But we just couldn't do them.
Okay.
And so I quit back in 2017, and now I work for Pop Dog and Loaded. I've been working for them for 2+ years. And
for those who don't know what that company is, that is Alex Garfield's new project, right? And what do they do, just generally? What would people know them for?
We're a talent management agency. We represent like Ninja and Shroud, Tim the Tatman.
Right.
Those guys.
So if any of you guys didn't know Charlie before, and you're like, who's this crazy guy who came on that says esports is garbage and stuff? This is actually one of the biggest esports insiders that I know. If I want to know about the general esports sphere, I learn it typically from Charlie.
This is
so this is a.
Stop this. It's actually disgusting.
Why?
What is putting you on a pedestal?
I just want people to know that, like, because here's the thing is, like, I see a lot of people attacking and defending esports who are like entirely not involved in the sphere. And I just want you guys to know that, like, this is actually somebody inside of esports.
It's coming from a place of love.
Yeah.
An experience.
It is honestly, it is coming. When I say esports is garbage, it is coming from a place of love. I do love it, but it's like, it might not be the most healthy kind of love. Mm-hmm. It's like when you're an immigrant child, and like I can speak to this, you know, and like, and your parents beat you because they love you.
A lot of spankings.
Yeah, it's like
It's
that.
a lot of spankings.
It's like that. Anyways, surprisingly, like honestly, the reason I came was not to talk about esports.
Yeah, that'd be great. We don't have to do that
It's
at all.
actually not to talk about esports. I'm like super mad at the two of you. Because every time some fucking guest comes on from like fucking Europe or Montreal or wherever the fuck Trent is from, basically Europe. Like, everybody comes here, they shit on LA, they're like, the traffic is bad, oh, I can't deal with it, it's so hot, I'm in fucking West Covina for all these events, that's not fucking LA, get the fuck out of here. And you guys, you mute-ass motherfuckers, just sit here and go, yeah, I guess it's not great. I mean, like, yeah, I guess the great outdoors is nice.
Let me just say,
And you just...
that's not on me. I'm a transplant. I've only been here a year and 3 months, and there are a lot of things I don't like about LA. This is entirely on you,
I feel like
Joey.
you can't claim being LA. Like if someone else told me they've been here for like a year and a half, I'd be like, yeah, you're not from the city, so you're right.
Yeah.
And I
So
feel
this
like,
is on you.
I feel like I don't need to get too fired up and berate people for not
I'm gonna
loving
do
the
it
city.
now. I'm gonna do it.
I fucking love Los Angeles. I don't know if that's been clear. We've talked about it on almost every episode, not because it's one of the three things Cap and I have in common. It's because I love this city. I don't want to live anywhere else.
I'm gonna bring up the traffic. First of all, fuck you, Grant. Fuck you, Trent. Who else was on this dog shit show?
Tsunami.
Fuck you too, Tsunami.
I have a Tesla. It doesn't autopilot when I'm in the traffic.
Listen, and they come here, they're like, oh, the drivers, oh, they're so aggressive. What's wrong with them? What's wrong with you, you slow ass motherfuckers? I don't want to be sitting in traffic. I got places I want to be. I gotta go. You're like,
there's smog.
Okay, what about the traffic though?
Listen.
It's fine. It's just a fact of life.
The thing about like these guys coming in here and saying that, like, if you work a regular 9 to 5, I would have given like more credence to their complaints. But these motherfuckers are in esports. You don't have a regular 9 to 5. You don't leave your house anyways. What are you complaining about the traffic for? Like, I work from home, right? So I don't have to actually go to my office, like to our actual office every day. So I can avoid, like, if you've lived here long enough, you can avoid the traffic. You know how. Don't leave during certain times, take certain freeways, do whatever.
Be a morning person.
It's honestly not as bad as everybody makes it out to be. I think LA is not a great place to visit necessarily for a short period of time, but I think it's a great place to live. There's no central downtown, so like you can't see everything at once. LA is a giant, beautiful sprawl of little pockets of amazing things that you're not gonna find.
There's nowhere else where I can go get some kind of like rare Amazon fruit and then also go buy 10 pounds of live cockroaches. Like,
what? I mean, I was with you at the first, and then why did you have to go there? Why did you go there?
well, do you know?
Tasty.
Do you know how Fear Factor gets all their cockroaches? There's a very specific bug store in Compton where you can buy anything.
Why are we still going down this path?
Because the city has everything. Including live hissing Madagascar cockroaches. You can, I dare, like, if you're like, hey, I need this thing, you can get that thing in LA. But if you're in any other city, it might be like, I gotta order.
Let me say, Charlie.
I would have picked a different thing.
Let me say, Charlie. Maybe you shouldn't flame Joey for not defending LA because maybe it's better he didn't defend LA.
That's true. That's true. Listen,
You can get 10 pounds of cockroaches.
Clearly, neither of you have ever had to buy live cockroaches. It's a very hard thing to do.
Have you?
why have you?
for shows.
All right. Sure.
They're great comedy. Cockroaches are great comedy. Pro tip.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
That's great.
I'll keep that in mind. Anyways, LA's got a lot of shit. I think this is the best food city in the world. Mm-hmm. I think this is by far the best food city in the world.
Unless you're Michelin, who's like, we'll give them their first stars in 20. Fuck Michelin.
Yeah. Fuck you, asshole. Like, the thing about Michelin is that they have an inherent bias towards certain cuisines. Mm-hmm. So things that they're familiar with, your typical Japanese, Italian, French. Those are that's like their fucking pillar of fucking food. And like cuisines outside of that don't exist, or they're not familiar with it, or they don't know how to effectively evaluate these things. Like, so Cap and I and a bunch of other people, after ESL Birmingham, we went to Hakkasan in London. 1 Michelin star. It's like very upscale. The environment is very nice, and it's Chinese food.
Okay.
Incredibly overrated. Incredibly overrated. It's like, white people go in and they don't know fucking like Chinese food, like good Chinese food. Don't get me wrong, it was good. It was very good. But I can get like that same meal in the 626 here.
And then, at a third of the price, if that.
Probably less.
Fuck.
Yeah.
I can't say that I've ever had the pleasure of eating in a Michelin star restaurant because I look at the prices for any of them that are anywhere close to here. And it's like, do I need to pay this money for this level of hype?
Some of them are very nice. Like,
Charlie is a big foodie. Charlie really likes going to nice restaurants, and as a result, I've experienced a lot of good food because I am not a person who cares like one way or another too much, but I'll go with the company, you know. And then I've gotten really good food as a result.
Like you could go to Jack in the Box, but you'll be happy if someone will take you.
Blitz and Charlie both really like going to nice restaurants. So when we have had our vacations and stuff, we go to nice places, and there's been some really good food. Hakkasan's overrated? What about the other Michelin star?
The other two that we went to in London, I like them both.
Okay.
I like them a lot. I just thought Hakkasan was like, look, you're gonna try and serve.
I can only think about the Vegas club.
Yeah, it's good. Don't get me wrong, it's good food, but it's like
what. I'm gonna go to London to see what Michelin. What restaurant should I go to?
Dinner by Heston's.
Dinner by Heston's.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to write that down.
That was great. Get the pineapple turnover cake.
Pineapple tipsy cake.
Tipsy cake, yeah, whatever that was.
And then get the meat fruit as well.
Yeah, that was also pretty
fruit.
good.
Okay, I'll just save that tab. We'll go there later.
Yeah.
I'll report back.
They have spits of pineapple that are just roasting. Well, you can see into the kitchen, and they're just roasting the entire time. And it goes into this tipsy cake, and it's amazing. But, okay, let me just say, my grievances with LA are pretty solidly just 3 things. The food is very good here. I will definitely give it that.
Thank you.
It is traffic, weather, and rent. Those are the 3 things.
I'll give you
I hate
one of those. A single one of those.
Which
things.
one of those things?
Rent.
Rent, I assume.
It's
Rent. You don't drive. Why are you complaining about traffic?
You Ubered here.
But when I have to go places, when it takes me 3 times the amount of time to be able to get there, a trick that should have been 20 minutes ends up being 55, 60 minutes because of traffic, that's shitty. When I have to go to LA airport, that's shitty.
Okay, LAX is shitty. I'll give you that. That's just shitty. But like, you driving like 55 minutes to go to the BTS office like once every month?
He Ubers.
Yeah, fuck you.
He even Ubers. I know he Ubers.
Fuck you. You don't get to complain about that.
Why not? Also, I have to experience the traffic, therefore it's shitty.
If you're going to the airport, you just take the flyaway. That's what you do.
I've thought about taking that. Is it really that much better?
Yes. It's cheaper. You don't have to park there. You don't have to deal with whatever the fuck the new Uber system or carpool
the new
system
Uber
is.
system
they
is
have
terrible.
There. You just take the flyaway. I don't know what the closest stop would be for you is.
I don't know if is there one by us? I just
No, there's one in Hollywood.
The Hollywood one. The Hollywood one is rough.
Okay, well that would be the closest
the
one.
Hollywood one. The Hollywood one puts you in like a Ford F-350 basically. It's so tiny, but every other flyaway stop is like a tour bus with like a bathroom and Wi-Fi. It's great.
Okay.
It's like $4. It takes you all the way to the valley.
I mean that's actually kind of nice. $4.
Yeah. I think it raised its price and it's actually like $5 now.
I mean, whatever. I mean, either way, I'm still not going to Hollywood. I'm still going to Uber to LA.
This podcast paid for by the Los Angeles Tourism Board.
Honestly, if you're gonna come here, you gotta stay for a bit and find a local. Don't go to fucking Hollywood.
I always feel when people come here to visit, it's like, well, what do you want to do in Los Angeles? What should you show me? It's like, well, I want to take people to like Griffith, and I want to like take them to restaurants that I know they'll like based on their own food preferences. But outside of that, it's really hard to be like, do you want to go hiking, or do you want to like? I never want to recommend people to like, hey, let's go to Hollywood, or like, oh, hey, let's go to Venice, or. It's the tourism is kind of rough if you're coming to visit. Like, you need to chill out for a while and just enjoy like the atmosphere.
I agree. There's not like a lot to like do. It's not like you're going to New York and you're like, oh, let's go see a show or something. No, LA is just, it's more a place to live.
Yeah, and the cost of living is extremely high.
Don't be fucking poor.
Don't be poor.
Don't be fucking poor.
That's like a big picture capitalist thing, though. Like, I mean, it's just the economy, right?
Also, I believe one of Trent's biggest complaints was the recycling, which again did like throw me for a total loop.
We're working on fixing it. It's a slow thing. We got a lot of. You know how hard it'd be to overhaul all of our trash cans? We got 7 billion.
Sure. I mean, I'm not going to pretend, like, I feel like a lot of those things are just, like, a greater United States of America problem. I'm not going to pretend our country is perfect.
No.
No. But yeah. Yeah, sure, whatever, Trent.
How long have you been in the city for?
I've been 3 years now, and then I went to high school and undergrad here.
Okay. So you can call yourself a
yeah. More or less, I'm like from here.
Yeah.
And Joey, you were from here, right?
I'm from here.
Okay.
My family grew up in Ventura, and I basically lived in the Valley most of my life. And then I went to UCLA. So I'm like.
I also went to UCLA.
LA. Really?
Yeah. Sure. I have like no school spirit though.
I have I'd say maybe like 30%.
I fucking hate UCLA.
I hate Westwood.
I also hate Westwood.
I hate Westwood. Westwood's a giant piece of shit that's horribly mismanaged and just insufferable.
What is Westwood? Is that the high school or whatever?
It's the area that UCLA is in.
Oh, okay.
Like UCLA, it's like Glendale. Westwood,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
As you can tell, I don't know LA areas very much yet.
It's okay. Fair. I mean, if you would drive more and stop Ubering everywhere.
But I can't drive anywhere because of the traffic. I'm literally disincentivized to go anywhere. Honestly, like when my girlfriend wants to go in like Santa Monica or something like that, I'm just like, oh,
it's not that bad. You don't have to drive during rush hour. Just go during rush hour.
Also, let me just say, a lot of times Charlie says it's not that bad. It only takes 35 minutes. But for normal people, it takes 55 minutes. But Charlie drives like a bat out of hell. Charlie's just like trying to run from the cops or some shit.
That's what you have to do to survive. Like, don't be poor. Don't drive slow. These are, at least one of those things is in your control.
All right, so you feel vindicated now? Have you defended the honor of Los Angeles enough?
Yeah, fuck you, Trent. Yeah, I'm good.
I need more clean air. I need to recycle.
You go to events to China. Don't talk to me about clean air.
That's not wrong.
It's really
that's
not.
wrong.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
We can like move on to like DOTA and other things and esports.
We do tangentially try and avoid DOTA. Like, it really is like just a small undercurrent. Like, we did just talk a lot about the patch, which we're both kind of excited about. Do moments like this like kind of reinvigorate you at all, or is it just like another day?
I haven't played DOTA seriously in maybe 2 years now.
Is that liberating, or is that like
it's super liberating actually? So you know how in one of the episodes, like Cap was talking about how he plays a lot but doesn't watch a lot. Mm-hmm. I watch a lot. I obviously don't play very much at all anymore, but I watch a lot.
How much of that is like intensive watching, or just like a tab in the background while you're working, or
maybe 50-50?
Okay. That's a lot still. Yeah.
I watch most of everything that I can get. Like, there's always going to be a stream on. Well, even when I'm doing.
You strike me as a big bulldog guy. Like, you love those Pepes in the chat, and you.
Is this like a segue into? No, I don't watch bulldog. I don't watch bulldog.
No, it's just an easy way to try and nag him because I don't know who actually else streams Dota. Like who would be like a good Dota streamer to counteract that with?
Gorp is
I don't actually.
He's the biggest
streams themselves. It's mostly games, or it's like Dota 24/7 channel where they stream like high level pubs or whatever, or it's his stream.
Charlie shows up in my chat a lot to spam
Trash W.
Shout
out my boy Eosin.
Shout out to Artifact pro player Eosin.
Hey man,
our boy.
I want nothing more than for that game to come back. I want to play in more of those tournaments.
Why?
I genuinely enjoyed playing Artifact.
It was good.
I feel like it was a good. I feel like I was privileged to play Artifact. I mean, I was privileged to play Artifact when it was like a closed community that was playing all the time with each other. So like there was a group of people that created a fun atmosphere around it, and I think the atmosphere was just as infectious as like the game being fun because I like wanted to spend time with my friends in addition to actually playing. So then when no one was playing the game, it's like, oh, I guess I don't like the game enough to suffer through not playing with people. But I'll still champion Artifact.
So racism, Bulldog. That's
Oh, you want to bounce back?
No. I was just fucking around.
Wait, real quickly. Have I told you the story about how I play a game of Artifact like once every like quarter of a year?
Why?
So I play one game of Artifact, and it is pretty much I play basically 3 or 4 a year, and it's because every single time ESL does an event, they have a meeting, they have an online call with all the talent and then the producer and like the head of talent and stuff like that, and they talk about their vision of the show and they talk about a lot of technical things and then they ask talent some things and they want some feedback from us, and it's a really boring meeting. And so during that time I play one game of Artifact. I've been working on the same draft. I only play draft when it comes to Artifact. I've been working on the same draft for like the last year. And
you're
gonna
get those rewards one day, buddy.
I mean, it's really enjoyable. I still really enjoy playing it. But yeah, I find a game actually within like 5 minutes. But it's great. That's the one game of Artifact I'll play every single time. It's for now. It's just tied with ESL.
Whenever I want to play, I message Slacks and I'm like, hey, do you want to play a game?
Speaking of
Slacks, racism, Artifact
of like non-success stories. You know, there's an Underlords post today where Artifact actually has more viewers than Underlords.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah.
What?
Artifact was at 122 viewers. Underlords was at 121.
Oh my God.
How did that happen?
I don't know.
Oh, did someone mislabel their Twitch channel for a second?
I don't know. I didn't actually like I was taking a shit, so I was just like scrolling through my.
I played Underlords a lot for the first for like the first month. It was like my workout game. I would play it while exercising.
Sure.
And then I really just fell off a cliff with it. Like as soon as they came out the battle pass, I haven't played a game in probably like 6 months now.
God.
Yeah, that happened to me too. Actually, I didn't. Like, it just fell off. Like I was playing a decent amount and then it just went away.
Yeah. And they've added so much to it. I really feel like I should just play that game and be like, what are they doing?
I put off playing for like a long time, and then after this TI, I spent a month like grinding out the game, learning how to play, hit Lord, and then I was like, all right, I'm good.
What's left?
Yeah.
I didn't like auto chess at all, so I was really hesitant to play Underlords. But they changed enough stuff where I'm like, oh, I like this now.
Do you know the player numbers by chance?
No.
Because I imagine if the viewer numbers are bad on Twitch, the player numbers can't be that great.
I don't know. I don't know how any of those games are doing. I don't know what the auto chess numbers are like. I don't know what the TFT numbers should still probably decent. I see people play that casually all the time, like in public.
It's still there. Well, I think one of the advantages that TFT has is that it's you launch it from the same client as you do League of Legends. Mm-hmm. So it's just like a different tab.
Yeah, and then it's like the only other game that's on the right launcher. Yeah, so people are like, I'll play.
Yeah, I guess. If like you don't want to, you don't feel like fucking solo queuing or whatever, you go play TFT or some shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I should go look into that. I wonder how all those games are doing, because I feel like it was kind of it was like a real arms race for a second.
Yeah,
and now they're...
Now one side won. Cold War is over.
Yeah, they're like, fuck this. I guess we should just go finish that VR Half-Life game.
Yeah, I'm not like I was never a Half-Life guy, so I'm just like, whatever.
I'm going to need to find someone who has a headset because I refuse to like buy one, but I think I know enough people who might buy one to be like, hey, when you're done.
So I was actually talking to Bruno about this, and I just casually mentioned like, oh hey, the Alex, or I don't know what the name is, but the Half-Life trailer looked really good. I might actually pick up a Vive and play that when it comes out. And he's like, oh yeah, but you should get the Index, because that makes it even better. And I had no idea they had like a second system or something already. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I real quickly type into Google Index, $1,000.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what? And I was just, it was like $500 or $600. I would have been like, oh, okay. But I'm like, Bruno, what the hell? You're just trying to upsell me to the Index for $1,000? Are you kidding me? I'm not buying
He
that.
gets the kickback, right? So it's just...
Gets commission. Bruno works on commission.
You should. There should be like stands at the mall where Bruno can just go work at and be like having kids try on indexes and sell like at the promenade.
He's just at the Bellevue Mall, just like a stack of Index Vives.
I need to have a friend who's gonna buy an Index. Someone has to.
I'm not buying that shit, dude.
Shit. I'll just keep on asking around. Someone will. I'm not gonna drop.
I refuse to buy it for one game only. Like, if there's another game I'm interested in playing, and I feel like that's going to be more, but, dude, and that just makes me think, like, naturally, that there's just not going to be a whole lot of turnout for the VR, because I feel like that just hasn't quite taken over. And so in my head, that could be, like, 3 or 4 failures in a row for Valve. And that's just crazy.
When they announced it, the Index was, like, the most sold thing on Steam for, like, 2 days. Which is crazy when you think that people can just, like, buy an indie game for $2. But it was topping their sales charts. So I would kill to see their revenue numbers of just
that's wild because we just between 3 people in esports in gaming. I don't know, like I think Purge has a Vive or an Index maybe. I know he has one of those systems, but like that's one person between the 3 of us that actually plays it. So
I will play that game somehow.
But you're not gonna buy.
But yeah.
So
they're not doing their job.
You don't count as a tick on the.
We'll see. Do you want to get back to racism?
I mean, this is
because we keep on just dancing around it now, and I don't know how to.
Who wants to stand on the soapbox here and?
Let me just say, not me, because Trent is my casting partner, and I don't want both of us to get accused of clout chasing or whatever stupid ass meme that is. Let me just say that is literally that's what Bulldog fans believe is that Trent is out for the clout.
Okay, well,
that's sweet fame.
So Trent made a lot of waves in the last week with contesting Bulldog's opinion on this whole Nigma situation and kind of the way that Bulldog represents his own Twitch tech culture. Does that worry you at all, Cap, as someone who's like financially tied to what people think of Trent now?
Oh,
are you like shut the fuck up, dude?
No, not at all. I immediately messaged Trent. I didn't immediately say it. But like once it really blew up, I messaged Trent and I told him, I gave him a long paragraph, but the big thing was like, hey, like it can feel really shitty when like everyone's clowning on you for like something like this, and like everyone's calling you a piece of shit, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it can all build up, and you can feel like it's like I fucked up, and this is maybe gonna like hurt my career in some way. But I told him like I think that this sort of thing is actually good for like your career. All the fans that you've lost are not fans that you wanted anyway. And I told him that I was proud of him for making his stand like that. Again, like I want to say a few things. Like he didn't intentionally make a big deal, right? Like
no.
how this actually happened was Trent and Ziori have a shitty podcast that no one listens to.
No, I'm pretty sure more people listen to us. Isn't that crazy?
I'm pretty sure more people listen to us.
Literally 100th of the episodes,
them, right?
Yeah,
and so they have their podcast. Nobody listens to it. And in an hour and a half of podcasting, he had a 30-second like, God, I actually am so annoyed that Bulldog does his shitty race baiting, and like that was his thing, and then people acted like he did some official stand against racism when really it was just a side remark on his podcast that got blown the hell up. He immediately put in the comments like, hey, this isn't actually what I mean. I don't think Bulldog's actually racist. That probably wasn't a good idea for me to say he's stupid, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All the critique points that people like to be able to lay on him, he quickly, addressed that and was saying like, hey, this wasn't really like an official statement or anything. There was, I shouldn't have called them stupid. Personal attacks aren't a good way to deal with this one, nor should you single out one person. This is a general problem. It's not a Bulldog problem, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's what actually happened. But anyway, you guys can have your take on that situation.
I will say that, like, one of the things that I was pleasantly surprised by, and this is rare, is that when I went into the comments, I was expecting much more.
Oh, do you want me to show you what they really look like?
Oh dear God, do I want to know?
It's really bad.
Okay,
Really?
but
It's
like
really bad.
Okay, but bad comments, not like highly upvoted bad comments, right?
I mean, because they were kind of
Because I never care about the comments that are like below 50 points upvoted.
No,
right?
there were a lot of people who just had their comments filtered for like saying certain words. It's like a lot of slurs in that thread. A lot of people who wanted to support Bulldog or like just be incredibly shitty or like slew personal attacks. A lot of personal attacks at Trent. A lot of personal attacks.
Okay, never mind then, because when I went in, the public version of the threads that I saw were like most of the upvoted threads were like fairly intelligent replies and takes on the situation. Yeah, and like that was surprising to see. I didn't expect that.
So I got to one of the threads I think before Joey or the mod team did.
I did almost nothing. Okay. A lot of people spent a lot of time making that.
So I got to one of those threads, and it was like one of the smaller ones made about it that made it onto the Twitter. And so whenever the Twitter Reddit posts, like I clicked on that, and I saw a lot of those comments, and that's when I made the comment to Trent, because I actually thought that the community was having like a worse reaction than they did, because I read all of those comments before they got ranked and everything, and I was just like, oh Jesus, like Trent probably feels really shitty right now. So but yes, once everything got kind of flushed out, I did feel like there was actually some relatively good conversation.
I think part of the thing that's like crazy to me to see is that how like I guess SJW or being left or caring about these words is being used as like an insult by some people. I'm just like you know that Jonah Hill meme where he's just like where he's just where the punchline is "fuck me," right? And it's just like I'm just trying to have an inclusive environment. Fuck me, right? Yeah. Like that's how I feel. It's just like what. Why?
It's because we're Americans who just don't understand what words mean in other cultures and don't want to have an inclusive environment. It's insane to me. I see, like, I'll compare stuff on the Dota subreddit and like how we kind of deal with these more sensitive topics to other games, and I still feel like the Dota community by and large is like almost better than other communities.
Really?
Yeah.
So he's saying it's worse in other areas. Oh no!
But the thing is that being better is still really bad. Like everyone is shitty, but it feels like we're a little bit less shitty because
that's super surprising.
Yeah.
I'll say this because I think if you grow up in certain environments, and if you grow up as the majority ethnicity within a place or whatever, like you might never get it. So I just want to say that like just because if you're a certain color or ethnicity, just because you're not offended doesn't mean that it doesn't do damage or whatever. There might be some kid out there or somebody that takes this and sees it as acceptable and internalizes it, and it's stuff like that that creates a culture where people don't feel welcomed or feel hurt or are marginalized in some way or another. And like that's the real point of I guess avoiding certain words or making sure that you aren't offensive. Like, just because you might not have that intention doesn't mean that somebody won't get hurt.
Yeah, I think it took me a minute to realize that. Like, I look back at myself in high school and really, really cringe at, like, why would I ever say some of the things that I used to say? Like, it took people from other backgrounds to be like, have interpersonal conversations or, like, look on the internet and be like, oh, hey, like, I'm interacting with a bunch of people who aren't me and have different sensibilities, and I might be hurting them. Why would I want to do that? And I feel like there's still a lot of people who don't have, like, they're interacting with these people. They're playing pubs with them. They're talking on Reddit with them. They're in Twitch chat with them. But they're not really thinking about, could I potentially be hurting someone else?
Sure. And I guess to the people that, I don't know, the 10 people that might listen to this podcast and go, oh, I don't care. It's just like, why do you want to be an asshole, dude? Nobody, as somebody with a lot of asshole-ish qualities, like it's not great. It's not great.
So to get like a little bit more direct on it, when you see Twitch chat spam, 3 Merlinis, Ming Lee, Pog,
I never.
How do you feel about that, Charlie?
I never. Yes.
No, sorry. Go ahead, Joey.
I've never understood why Three Merlinis.
White man, please address racism.
Fuck! I've never understood. I've been anti Three Merlinis from day one. I never understood how it got to be like such a thing that like even felt semi accepted.
Yeah, I mean, I like, I'm not like hurt by it, but when I see it, I don't like it because it's perpetuating this idea that this is okay. Like, and it shouldn't be okay. I know I saw a lot of comments and a bunch of other threads where they're like, I'm from Southeast Asia and this doesn't bother me. I find it funny or whatever. But, like great for you, but that's not every single Asian experience across the world. And I know people have said, like, I don't want other people's values to be enforced on me or whatever. But, like, well, honestly, what's the fucking benefit of being able to spam 3 Merlinis lol? Like, that's like it's not that fucking funny, man. It's really fucking not. And it goes back to this, like, this sense of, like, if this is okay and it becomes acceptable and we don't address it, then you create this culture where it's like okay to make these subtle racist jabs at other people. This idea that all Asian people look the same is, there's a hurtful history behind that kind of stuff, and there's a hurtful history of a lot of Asian American race issues not being addressed or not being taken seriously, and this is one of them, and I don't like seeing it. It's honestly not that fucking funny. Spamming tryhard is not that fucking funny. Spamming Anil, it's like, it's some lowbrow fucking shit. Like, what kind of fucking animal are you?
Even calling it lowbrow, like, makes it seem like it could be humor. It's like, it's below that.
Yeah, it's...
Because if you ask somebody who is making these jokes what's funny about it, at the end of the day, what the core of the message is, black people are monkeys and thieves. Black people are funny. Asian people all look alike.
Right.
They all talk with a funny accent. And, like, when you get to that core message, it's like, that's really shitty. Like, that's not funny at all. That's actually terrible, But, yeah, it's...
So did Kuroki make a mistake naming his team this?
Oh, whatever.
God. Oh God.
I don't care about the Nigma thing whatsoever. Dude, so many people came into my fucking chat asking me, like, aren't you concerned somehow you're gonna say the N-word? I was like, I think I said Nigma 50 times in a row or something on stream to prove that I somehow wouldn't accidentally slip. Never said it before in the history of Dota. Nobody said that. When it comes to saying Enigma, nobody has accidentally said that. So no, it's not a problem. I don't think it's like they're very like unaware or just don't care that the very obvious memes are going to be made.
I don't think it was malicious.
No, I think if I were to hazard a guess, I think they're coming from the perspective of this is a word that is important to us. We want to call ourselves this, and we're not going to let certain Western standards be enforced on our decision. Now,
that's fair.
Unfortunately, business decisions aren't evaluated on your intent here. And is it a great business decision? It's not. It's not. Let's be real. It's not a good business decision. Do I think it will ultimately matter in the long run? Personally, no, but because I don't think that team lives or dies on these things. I don't think this team lives or dies because of sponsors that care about these things. I'm not going to get into I'm not going to say any more about that, but ultimately I don't think it mattered that much for me.
I just want to... I wish that I could, step in my little time machine and then be a fly in the wall in their pitch meeting. Because I'm curious if anyone brought up the point of, maybe this is a bad idea. I wonder if there was any voice of dissent.
Probably. Huh. But again, I think they don't care.
I probably would have been like, I don't think this is a good business decision. But aside from that, like, I don't feel super strong.
I mean, it seems like, judging from their Twitter account anyway, it seems that they had a decent amount of thought. Yeah, a decent amount of thought into why they wanted to name it the way they named it. And it obviously ties into the culture of that team pretty heavily. So, I mean, I think it's fair that if they just wanted to ignore the obvious memes and, Western influence or whatever you want to call it of...
But ignoring it, like, that's what it is. It's ignoring it because they're gonna happen and they're not gonna stop.
Sure. I think it puts like an extreme amount of pressure on that team to be incredibly successful and win. And I think even if they do that, wins don't always necessarily translate to business to success on the business front. I think a lot of players in Dota and a lot of people in Dota have Dota esports lives in a bubble. Mm-hmm. We're very disconnected from all other esports, and I think we put a lot of value on wins in terms of how successful a franchise or a brand is. And when that translates to sponsorship, that doesn't always just translate to sponsorship dollars. For example, in the LCS or in League of Legends as a whole, who do you think is the most valuable player? Do you think it's Faker, the best player in the world?
No, it's
if you're gonna look at it,
Doublelift, right, or
yes,
whatever.
It's Doublelift. He comes from North America, League of Legends. He is by far the most valuable player in the world. But you know what? North American League of Legends is dog shit. They didn't even get out of Worlds this year. They are by far the worst region.
They got outshined by EU this year, which has always been a rivalry between the two shittest regions. There's who's worse when in the end Korea and
But despite all of that, Doublelift is hands down the most valuable player in all of League of Legends.
He's really good on those Honda commercials.
Sure. Whatever.
Does that, so translating that into some Dota terms, do you think that the new Liquid roster, like there's one thing about the old Liquid roster, right? They never did like anything extra when it came to sponsors and stuff. Like I never really saw like any interviews and stuff. And then like this new Liquid, I see immediately they're doing like interviews, they're doing like, you know, just various content pieces for Liquid. Do you think that in a way that roster can be just as valuable as the old one, even though the old one won TI, simply because they're willing to do content pieces and stuff?
I think that already makes them more valuable in some ways.
Really? Wow.
It really depends on your, honestly, it really depends on your business model here. So I would say like TL is a mix of, so, God, how do I describe this? Before all the investors came in, the esports business model was purely run off of sponsorships. Even to this day, revenue, even if you have investment, revenue is about 70 to 80%. Sponsorship revenue consists of 70 to 80% of your total revenue for a team, your total revenue. And if you contrast that with traditional sports, sponsorship revenue is about 20 to 30%. Because they have content deals, they have other sources of revenue. And that's bad for esports because sponsorship revenue does not cover costs. But I would say TL is like half and half because they have a whole bunch of investment. But, you know, everyone still runs off of sponsorships. But I imagine they have like a significant amount of runway because I guess the other half of their business model is grabbing valuable assets, and those assets in turn are put into how much your company and your brand is worth for investors. So I guess inflating is a loaded term, but for lack of a better term, inflating your valuation, and then eventually you're going to sell that to somebody or another.
Okay.
I don't feel concerned about these teams that are getting big investments. I feel like they're going like your 100 Thieves, your Phases, your Team Liquids.
Concerned. If I were them, I'd be concerned.
It's every other team who in esports that I look at. I'm like, what is your business model?
I mean, I'm concerned if I'm all of them, because at some point, if you've got a whole bunch of investment, but your revenue numbers are maybe a tenth, sometimes less than what your valuation is, then eventually if those numbers don't like eventually
get closer together,
level out, then if some investors are going to be like, yo, what the fuck? Like what
Somebody's going to start crunching the numbers and go,
why
why
am I investing in this?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these investors say that their plan is like multi-year. They don't expect a return eventually. But honestly, I don't expect, in the way that teams currently operate and the way the ecosystem is currently, I don't expect any of these teams to even get close for another like 5+ years. I don't.
What changes in 5 years to get them closer to that revenue?
Maybe another game. Maybe their target audience just has more disposable income. And, you know, like all these Fortnite kids get actual jobs and then they can spend their own money or something. Like, or the population of gamers grows larger. I think esports problem right now is that, well, at least one of the problems is that the audience isn't growing that much. We're still at the same numbers, but costs have gone up like incredibly.
Player contracts, production value.
Everything has gone up. Everything's gone up to insane amounts, but revenue hasn't caught up. But valuations are going up. Cap's probably heard this a million times, but like I sort of liken a lot of esports properties to the 2008 housing crisis, where everyone's betting big on esports. Everybody's betting big on this idea that nobody defaults on their house, right? You know, so you can package all these like some subprime deals into this fucking tranche or whatever, and and it'll be fine because nobody defaults on their house, and people are seeing esports as this kind of thing where they're like, yeah, esports is going to be big. Nobody's going to everyone the idea of watching people play video games for money is always going to be a thing, and I think that's correct, but that doesn't mean that every single one of these properties here is going to be a part of that. Like some of these people are just not going to have a house because some of them are going to default. So I mean, I'm worried if I'm all of them. I'm worried if I'm getting investment. I'm worried if I'm not getting investment, because then how can I compete? And if you have investment, how do I make a return? Nobody's really figured that out yet. You could try and be the esports supreme like 100 Thieves. It's like sort of working.
Yeah. Or become more of a social brand than the esports brand, which I think is the FaZe plan. But I don't know who else is really branching out on different paths. Someone will find a business model, maybe.
Maybe. I don't even know if it exists. Think about it. Like, what do esports teams own? What is something protectable that they own?
Their logos.
That's it.
Brand identity.
That's it.
Yeah. I can't think of number two.
That's it. If you NBA teams, the teams themselves own the league. And like the NBA league works for the teams themselves. It was created by the teams. They all have a spot in it. Nobody owns basketball, so like nobody can say no. You can't have the broadcast rights for basketball anymore. No, the teams own that. That's proprietary to them. But in esports, you don't own that shit. Valve owns that shit. Riot owns that shit. And I think in the history of like a league, a third-party league versus a developer, there's only ever been one successful lawsuit, where a league has won against the developer, and that was South Korea, StarCraft 1 against Blizzard, but it's fucking South Korea. So I don't know if that's replicable.
Probably not. No.
Wow, I never knew that. How many like have there been a lot of lawsuits?
No, I mean I say that there's only one. I think that's the only one. Honestly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It is interesting though.
Yeah, they wanted to pull. Blizzard wanted to pull it, but South Korea was like, no, this is our thing. Don't. And so they couldn't take their broadcasting rights. That's the TLDR. I'm probably missing a lot of nuance here. But, if you want to fucking Wikipedia that shit, you can Wikipedia that shit.
Yeah, well.
So that's your esports doom and gloom from Charlie Yang.
Esports sucks.
Esports scares me because it does feel, bubbly is the layman's term.
It's definitely bubbly, and a lot of people out there who have a horse in the race have a vested interest in telling you that it's not bubbly.
I don't know how you can look at it and be like it's not bubbly. Just with how much money is being inflated into it right now.
It's bubbly. Like I mean, in some ways, like I have a horse in the race, but I think like I'm masochistic enough to not care. So
be like, well, knew this was gonna happen.
I'll go back to being a lawyer or something. Or fuck you guys. I have a degree.
There's a consistent job there. You can just go do that. Yeah, right. Yeah, I guess I've been trepidatious about like getting fully into esports as like a career option. I produce regular television, which is
keep doing that.
Yeah. And there's been times where, I'll take a long shower and I'll be like, maybe I should just, stop working for Disney and start working for whatever league team developer production company. And then I get out of the shower and I'm like, no, I shouldn't.
Yeah. Just wash away those bad thoughts.
Yeah, no, I need to. Like, it's very, flirty. I feel like are very idealistic to be like, oh man, I just go like get a career in like gaming or go like make esports stuff. It's so cool. I love this stuff. But then you look at the teams, you look at the games, you look at the numbers, and I feel oof.
So I feel like something that viewers would probably like most of them really identify in the situation of like, I want to get into esports. How do I do that? Like Charlie, what advice would you give to people like that? Just like get a normal okay, but like get a normal degree and a job that can allow you to transition into esports.
Yeah,
but doesn't necessarily put you all in.
I would say like you want, depending on what you want to do. Mm-hmm. I would honestly try and find something like, I would like, say you want to be a lawyer or a manager or whatever. Don't be an esports lawyer or a manager or whatever. Go be a regular lawyer, and then find a way. Like if you really want to work in esports, then just bring your skills over. Like people that market themselves, fuck you, Ryan, as like the esports attorney or whatever. Like I hate those monikers, man. Like why would you do that to yourself? Just be Bryce Bloom or Ryan Morrison. Why do you have to be the video game attorney? Just be an attorney.
I feel like
don't demean yourself like that by attaching esports to your name.
And that's generally what employees are looking for anyway, right? They're not looking for, I love esports, here's all the games I want, and I can manage a Dota 2 team. They want to hear, I can manage teams I've been in. This is
my work history.
This is my work history, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, and yeah, I do love esports, but most importantly, I'm here to work.
Yeah, if the first thing, when I do hires, if the first thing you do is tell me how passionate you are, next. Next. That's an instant swipe left. Instant swipe left. I don't want fucking fans. I don't want fans.
People are good at their jobs and roles.
I want you to be good at your job. I don't care, like, how much you love RTZ. That makes me want to hire you even less.
Yeah, that does sound kind of gross.
So but just remember, if you're sending your resume to Charlie, just at the top say, I hate esports, I think it's a pyramid scheme, and then, the rest of your resume.
That would actually work. That would actually work.
Esports is Cutco. Here's my dissertation.
Yeah, I would for sure give you a call back. Absolutely.
I try to sell you some knives. Did the being cynical about esports just come mostly from the time working in it and like seeing behind the curtain?
Mostly, yeah. I mean, I think at the beginning at the very beginning of the industry, I had a lot of hope for it. I had hoped that we could turn it into something sustainable and good.
Well, Charlie, can you actually tell the story of when you first decided to get into esports?
Sure.
I always like that story.
So, I was in my first summer as a 1L in law school. I was in Beijing I was working at an NGO over there, and it was called Landesa. They did work with poor rural farmers in China. It's a really fucked up system over there, by the way. All the land in China is owned by the government. So farmers have to lease it from the government. Usually these are year leases. A lot of them don't have paperwork, and that leads to them being, TLDR, it's poor and shitty. And so we did work with like getting them longer leases or getting them or doing the paperwork. And so I was there doing that, and I went to the villages, spoke to some of them, saw how they lived, like touched it, smelled it. It was an amazing experience. I'll probably never do anything like that again. But honestly, the thing I remember most when I was in Beijing was sitting in my apartment watching MLG Columbus. That was the year they had like record attendance, record viewership. Is when esports was like fucking popping off. StarCraft was
the shit.
Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, fuck, what am I doing here? I should be there right now. And so when I went back, I decided that I'm just gonna put everything into working in esports like a dumbass. And so I put on a few local LANs in Toronto. I wasn't in Toronto at that time, but anyways, I put on a few LANs in Toronto. I worked as a writer for ESFI World, and then my Owie 2000 asked me to be their manager for Pot and Bottom, and I was like, yeah, fuck this, let's go. I don't want to be a lawyer. Fucking mistake.
How many of those clerical skills translated into managing a team? What's it like? I've never talked to anyone who's really
You could have been one
managed
of
a
those
team.
high-octane, high-powered assholes I see at the gym who's always talking on their fucking phone while they're working out at the same time. Oh, I hate
Joke's on
those
you,
guys.
I'm still those. I made my way to that stereotype anyways.
Congratulations.
Managing a team, oh man.
Because I just imagine it would be hell. Like, there's 5 people who probably like can't take care of themselves pretty well.
It's I think if you ask a different manager, you'll get a lot of different answers, really depending on like what team they manage, what their mindset is going into it. Not all managers, have the same duties or experiences. For me, it was mostly like keeping that team together on the right track, and managing personal relationships between a lot of them, and then a bunch of like very mundane things like schedule scrims, flights, shit like that. But honestly, that's the most basic of your managerial duties. All like if you're not a moron, you should be able to do like these things, like keep a schedule, respond to your players on time, all these sort of like good employee things.
Yeah.
I think the things that really separate just your okay manager from somebody that really makes a difference is can you get your team to work together better, or how do you, or your ability to manage the relationships between players, your relationships with them. And it's not something that comes easy. If you're a new manager, that's just not, you don't have the clout to do that. And so you have to be able to build that relationship with them to say, hey, look, I'm not as good at Dota as you, but the way that you're speaking to him, or the way that we're practicing, or the way that we're doing this is not good, and we can do it a better way, or whatever. So a lot of, I'd say, the interesting parts about being a manager is it's just a lot of relationship building. And how good are you at that?
And you get to carry those relationships because now you're still friends with all these people for the most part.
Yeah. And I think that's like one of the good things, one of the best things about esports, that is really the people that you'll meet. I think, like Cap said this before, that I think we're really lucky in Dota that most people here are like really like pretty good, genuine people, and the people that aren't have been like weeded out or don't last very long or anything like that. And so
You have to be masochistic enough to enjoy Dota to like somehow become a decent person to
I think
work in it.
For sure. I think like being a good manager, like you have to have some level of masochism in you. Like you gotta like know how to suffer to some degree. I'm sure that
There's a lot of suffering in playing Dota in general.
Yeah.
So I think it's no, I've figured this out recently, is that one thing that like at least the Dota talent I think really appreciate is that when somebody shows off a sin or weakness or like a bad part of themselves for other people to laugh at, or just to pull that out, right? For people, like, I think we all really gravitate towards those people, because that was one of the things about Rich Campbell, the host, right? Like, we all, like, he's a very charismatic guy, so there's that hit point. But he was not afraid to ever be able to say, like, hey, here's this stupid thing I did have a laugh, you know. In exchange, I'm going to tell you this dumbass thing that I did. You can think I'm stupid and you can laugh at me for it, you know? And I think that's, like, we all really appreciate that in the Dota talent pool. And I think part of that is, again, the masochism of Dota. We all appreciate people who can humiliate themselves because we have to be in shitty situations playing Dota all the time.
Just humble yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
Did you finish law school when you were working with the Dota peoples?
Yeah. So I managed the team and I was in school at the same time.
Okay.
And I graduated, and then when I graduated, I was going to keep on doing the managing thing, and then so I moved back home with my parents for like 6 months, fought with them all the time about, like, you know, what the fuck are you doing? Sort of thing. And then went to MLG Columbus with Speed Gaming, and then they won. I did the deal between them and Cloud9, and then I went to go work for EG, and then I had like money to eat things.
Which must have been nice.
Yeah, I could.
Still got this debt that I have to pay off for these student loans for being a lawyer. So
when I was working for Dignitas, my salary was $200 a month.
ooh, I thought you were gonna say a week,
No.
and I was like, oh man,
$200 a month, and they didn't. And in order for me to get paid, I would have to be like, yo, like,
Odie, buddy,
yeah,
please.
Like, by the way, I'm on salary.
That's
That's still a classic in esports. Not getting paid.
there's
by
too many
people.
stories about that. I'd say it's becoming less and less prominent, but I know that people haven't been paid for work recently, so it's not
Yeah,
entirely.
there was a recent Counter-Strike CSGO. They had their issue with Starladder not getting paid by them.
Mm-hmm. And there's like you find it in surprising places. There's that issue with C9 League of Legends recently.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't hear about that, they were, instead of paying their players in salary, they paid them in equity, which they weren't allowed to do. So,
Huh.
I mean, big team. Still happens with them. Are we allowed to talk about Tom? Can we talk about Tom?
I'm sure we can. I mean,
That sounds very confident.
Like we don't have any NDAs.
no, we don't have NDAs. I mean, this isn't gonna go anywhere, right? Every single time I think that, it always shows up on Reddit.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's your call.
Can we talk about
That
Tom?
at the end of the day, that is your call, Charles, because
Why is that my call?
you're closer to the situation
I
than
don't
I
know.
How
am.
am I closer? The only reason I'm closer to the situation is because I was owed like 50 grand.
Yeah, well,
But I got paid that 50 grand. No, I'm not gonna. I'm not touching this shit. I'm not touching this. The TLDR is that at the end of it, everyone got paid, but a bunch of people were owed a lot of money, and somebody was defrauded, and there might be jail to. Anyways,
esports is a scene that criminals can get into. Yes.
It seems like a great option if you want to launder a lot of money.
Oh,
no,
I can
that's
talk
a
about
whole
this.
nother
I'm okay.
story.
I'm okay talking about this. So
Abusu?
there are, I think, still to this day that they exist. I won't talk about which ones they are because they still exist. And a bunch of companies in the past that were straight up money laundering fronts. Korean mafia, various oligarchs from different parts of the world, sort of stuff. Like, these are just like, they need to get their money out to the West in a safe way, and there's this new unregulated industry called esports.
Big prize purses.
Yeah, do whatever you want here.
I assume, there's a lot of those streaming companies who are trying to take a piece of Twitch's pie that I'm like, these all seem shady. And there's still tournament organizers that I look at and I'm like, where's this money coming from?
Listen, Joey. Before we besmirch any tournament organizers,
I didn't say anything.
I just want to say that if you are a tournament organizer and you're listening to this, I don't care. Just pay me my money. And it's all good.
I can't believe you're still holding out hope for that. You're not getting it.
Are you talking about GESC? Well, that's not, there's no criminal activity going on there besides just not paying people. There's no nefarious thing. That's just, somebody stupid got way over their head and doesn't have the money to pay people. That guy, the real criminal element are the people who can pay because they're obviously laundering money. But I don't care if you're laundering money, just pay me mine. If I work for you, just pay me mine.
To go for a cash up front model.
I actually don't know who the money launderers are, like concretely, but it's like
it's all rumor.
I can have it's a lot of rumor and
really
speculation.
Knows what they are or who they are. It feels like there are some, which I guess is the problem in the first place. Like
the weird part is that
they're shady money.
It's a little hard to tell. I think the laundering money ones from the like spending stupid amounts of money because of investment capital ones. Right? Yes. It's like, I don't know, like somebody has free money one way or another. I just don't know which one it is. I don't know if it's legal or not.
Is it angel investors or mobs? Like,
it's insane because there are some like legitimately really dumb esports startups out there that have that got a bunch of investment money, like legitimately like really bad ideas. Like, I'll call one out. I don't give a fuck. So recently I met them at DreamHack. Like a little bit ago. I don't remember their name. Honestly, it was just bad. Their business idea is like it's some sort of recruitment tool for teams to use to like identify good pub players or whatever, and then like feed it and like get their stats or whatever, and then sell that to. Like,
I think I know what you're talking about.
Listen. Like I've taken a lot of it's not a novel idea. I've taken a bunch of calls with a bunch of companies that have this idea. So let me preface this, like I'll give you some free consulting right now. Is that if that's your idea, it's fucking bad. Every single one of them is bad. I don't care like if you have some new proprietary tool or whatever, like if your idea is some sort of recruitment software or method or service or whatever, it's bad. It's bad because you like I don't think any of them understand like how it's currently done now, and your software is just it's not going to take over pro player like intuition or connections or anything like that. It's not.
It's also just a small pool. Like, there's only so many people who are being called up to be like, hey, do you want to play on this team?
But Charlie, Moneyball was a good movie and book that they've read / seen.
Never. I don't have a response to that because I've never seen Moneyball or read it.
I don't know either. But
did you make a joke that none of us know about? Because I've also never read or seen Moneyball.
the plot of the story is that that you're using stats to be able to make a winning team rather than traditional metrics that were at the time.
You can do that. You can still like use stats to help make you a winning team or whatever. But if your entire idea is like using publicly available data to go to do this and then go sell that to different organizations that have people scouting for them already internally, then your idea is bad. And if you got funding for that, both shame on you and well done. Yes.
Congrats.
Yes.
I should go pitch more bad esports ideas if some of them are getting hit on.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Like one of them was like it was called like chili.z or something, and I don't remember the exact idea. I just remember this is so fucking stupid. How did they get $2.7 million?
Okay, dude, I've got the real idea. We need to get some investors to fund a show where it's an esports like Shark Tank, and it's literally just Charles just calling out. Like you just approach Charles and like, here's my esports idea, and he just goes, dog shit, dog shit, dog shit.
I'm out.
Sounds like too much free consulting. And like, who else is on that panel? Like, I mean, you need like another Mark Cuban or the QVC lady,
there would be people that would do this.
We could get Mark Cuban.
He's done it already.
Where's someone call Rick Fox?
He knows a bad deal when he sees it.
I don't think Rick Fox is the team anymore, right? He's looking for work.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not opening that can. I'm not going there. I'm not going there. I'm just gonna say that, like, there's so much more to that story than is available to the public, and I think, like, this, I'm gonna get on the soapbox again. Like, there's so much going on in the space that just never sees the light, like the light of day. And the craziest part is, like, when I go into threads about certain things or whatever, and I see people making, like, saying things with such conviction as if they're fact, but they have, like, no actual knowledge of the situation. Like, if you make like, I would say almost all, like, 99% of the comments about esports or teams or certain decisions or whatever are all misinformed and wrong. Fans actually know so little. Even people inside the space know so little. It's crazy.
Couldn't you make the same parallel to, like, the NBA subreddit, or
No,
or do you feel like it's even worse in our scene?
It's definitely worse in our scene, and at least in the NBA subreddit, they got some real good, like, memes and jokes. RNBAs.
It's pretty dank.
NBA is one of the best, for sure.
It's really good. It's really good. I would also say that the NBA, like, there's more transparency in terms of, like, how things happen, but in esports there's very, very little, and a lot of stuff that you see, like, put out there is just PR stuff. It's not always true. And there are mischaracterizations, like people within the scene will mischaracterize things publicly, either intentionally or not, or whatever. There's so much that just, like, is not right. And so if you're a fucking Redditor and you're posting in there, like, and if you don't know, please just don't say anything.
I know exactly what's going on with Sumail and what all the problems are. It's very clear. Did you not see how he looked at the camera?
Yeah,
I'm a mind reader.
There's so much that's just unsaid, and that will probably never be said.
Probably doesn't need to be said.
Well, that's a matter of perspective. That's a matter of perspective.
I guess I'm fine with a lot of people being in the dark with a lot of the inner workings of the business side or the back end. That feels okay. Like, not everyone should have access to all this information.
Sure.
But it does bother me, as someone who does read a lot of just, like, the Dota subreddit, people assuming that they know more than they know.
There's a lot of assumptions about players, teams, business decisions, Valve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People can't contain themselves. Everyone's an expert.
Oh god, whenever I see a Valve, anything about Valve, like, I'm sitting there going, like, I've worked for Valve for multiple events, and I have no clue. I have, like, zero insight into anything involving Valve, almost, because it's like,
I agree.
I don't know those people.
It's a big black box.
Yeah.
Like, fuck.
I agree. I think between, like, me, Cap, Will, and maybe some other people, like, we have probably more direct, like, conversations with a lot of people than in Valve than
Literally anyone.
Sure. And I would never feel comfortable making a statement or a guess about, like, what they think or what they do or what their motivations are. Like, I'm just not, like, I'm not comfortable enough in my ability to say something accurately about them or whatever. So why the fuck does random Redditor 967 feel that they can?
I feel like you're just explaining that you have some self-restraint, and most people don't. That's what it has to come down to, right? Like, all these people are just excited about this stuff they care about a lot. And they don't have. They don't.
Is that you guys are all fucking monkeys now. You should shut the fuck up.
People just restrain themselves a little bit more. Be nice, right? Just go back to playing Dota.
What a great way to encapsulate this podcast.
We were really-
Esports is shit. You should care less about it. Speculate about it less. Just all around, just care less.
Fix
about
racism.
It. Fix racism.
LA is the greatest city
LA
in
is
the
the greatest
world.
city in the world.
It's really up there. I can't name a better one. I'm gonna be morbidly interested in looking at the like the viewership per time graph.
Yeah.
Just to be like, you know, starting off on a city that almost no one lives in has to be a strong one,
what if
and then transitioning into.
What if this is the episode that just tanks your viewership numbers from like 2 to 1?
Every episode, how dare you? It's like
Listen, Charlie.
That one is me. I'm probably. I believe I am your most loyal listener.
Have you showed Charlie
What,
numbers?
you said you haven't listened to the first episode
just
yet.
the first
There's
one.
people who've listened to all the episodes. I know they have.
Have you showed Charlie the numbers, or is he doing a bit?
No.
I
He
don't
hasn't
know
seen the
anything.
numbers. He
I
doesn't know we only have 2 people. There's 3 people on the show. Why aren't you guys listening to our own show? What's wrong with you?
I have to listen to it a lot when I edit it, so to listen to it again on Spotify feels like a real chore, dude.
All right,
Dude, I
fair.
followed. One of those little ticks is me. When I go back, I'll go on Apple and I'll write a review.
Nice.
On Apple, it really helps you do it on Apple.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, do it
I know.
so much.
Like I said, I'm a listener.
I don't know how many people are going to be after all the politics talk. Or maybe we have like a weird crossover of Bulldog fans who now just really don't like me.
Or Charlie, or me. For the love of God, if you're gonna put it on Reddit, just don't put a thread about the race stuff. I just don't want to read that again. I hate everybody involved in
It'll
those.
come back around. It always does.
Yeah, it does.
We have one race problem a month on the DOTA subreddit.
That's true. Maybe it's not exactly true, but it feels like it's true.
It happens more often than it should. And like I see them, and from a work perspective, which sounds gross to say, of like, oh man, we got to deal with all these people who are like going to out themselves as being really shitty humans. Time to ban a bunch of accounts. But also just from a human perspective of like, I thought we were getting better as a community.
Do you just feel like really shitty after like when you have to go and like do that cleanup at the end of the day? Do you just like life is just
the upside of having threads like that is that people will come out of the woodworks and like mark themselves as like, I'm a shitty person with bad opinions who is just a racist, and you can be like,
That's how I would
great,
look at
we
it.
can just kick more of them out.
Yeah.
I just look at it as, you know, just shotgunning down white
part-
capes, you know?
Part of me feels like, do you think like banning them like radicalizes them even more?
Some people don't get notifications that they're banned. They'll just be like shadow bans, which is like it's a
So they'll
different
only
type
notice
of.
when they look for their own comment or something.
And no one gets like permanently banned. People get like 2-week bans to start, and then they'll be like, "What the fuck? Why'd you ban me? It's free speech. Do you not live in America? First Amendment, dog." And then it's like, "Hey, it's just a temporary ban. Like, just don't be shitty like this, and like it won't be a problem." And then a lot of people are like, "Oh, hey, I don't want to be banned," so they just don't do it again, and it kind of works. And then other people will just keep doing it, and you're like, "Okay, well, I mean, bye."
You know, speaking of shadow bans, I think I'm shadow banned from Tinder.
How does
from
that
Tinder?
happen?
So, I saw a video on it. If you know how like if you just like keep on swiping right without like doing anything else and you just swipe right because it's a numbers
I'm
game, right?
guilty of that. Yeah, it's,
Yeah,
you know,
I'm super-
wide,
Yeah, the
wide
horny
net.
dog, like, I don't care what I'm fucking.
Well, no, it's like
No,
listen,
wide
mister,
net.
I've been in a committed relationship for like the last like 52 years or whatever. Like this is what dating is that you just like if you get matched with somebody, then that's when you do the filtering. But when you're not, you just swipe right or whatever. And so like on Tinder or whatever, I did that for a bit because I was just like watching shows while I was just swiping, right? And then, but like I didn't do that for Bumble, and I would get matches on Bumble, but I wouldn't get any on Tinder. And so I saw a video that people were saying, yeah, if you do that, you're probably shadow banned, and they don't tell you. You can still see things or whatever. You just don't get matches.
That has to be extra depressing. You're like, man, I'm not getting any matches.
It was depressing for a while. I was just like, what the fuck is going on?
What happened? Do I need to change my pictures around?
Yeah, it's like, is it me? I was like,
And then you were like, no, it's a dating app. And then you went to some other one.
yeah, I got matches on Bumble, so it's like.
I'm a champion of Hinge recently. Highly recommend. Highly recommend.
What is like the Hinge hook?
Hinge, I can comment. I can send my like with a comment on like a photo or like a question or something that they've said, so I can like give some kind of a witty response.
Okay.
I feel like I'm much better at fishing when I can like say the first thing that's not like a shitty thing, but like a funny thing.
Sure. It's like a way to get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's also fun creative writing. It's like, what kind of dumb shit can I say?
I will say, 20 years ago when I was on Tinder, I guess the biggest reason I couldn't do the full swipe right was because I was in Germany at the time.
So I don't know what that means.
Well, I needed to make sure they spoke English. Oh. I can't just spam swipe right.
I mean, can't you? Like you just like if you get matched, you just send them a message in English. And if they're like only Deutsch, then you're out of luck.
I mean, that just seemed like a waste of time. So they didn't have some sort of marker that they spoke English on there. Then I just didn't swipe right.
How successful was that for you?
Did you
I
have
had a few matches.
Did you have an American flag in your profile? Did you have something to identify yourself as an American?
No.
I feel like that's the play when you're abroad.
Yeah,
because people are like, "Hey,
not in Germany.
Not in Germany.
Not in Germany.
I guess they might not like us for some reasons,
depending on."
I'm not on.
No, let me say, at the offices, they were not big fan of World War jokes. They just weren't. For whatever reason, they weren't. But I made a few of them. I didn't stop. I kept doing it. And that's why I didn't have any friends in that office. So.
You just couldn't contain yourself. You're like, I'm a Marine and I love America.
Yeah, a little bit.
Come in with your combat boots on. Just like, hey, everybody.
I remember one time Zoe was like, "You're so American," and I immediately responded, "Thank you." I knew she meant it.
Well, look where she fucking is now. In America, casting Overwatch with other Americans.
She loves Los Angeles. Or I guess Irvine. She loves Los Angeles.
Yeah, she like Irvine.
She's great. I love Zoe.
Yeah, so I was doing great.
Let me ask you something, actually.
Yeah?
You remember when Blitz was fat?
Oh, Jesus.
I was friends with Blitz when he was fat.
So
Then he got popular. Now we're not friends anymore.
So remember, take Fat Will in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think in a fight to the death, let's say like you run this simulation like 1,000 times, do you think in any of them could Zoe kill Will?
In a majority of them?
In any of them. Like in a fight to death, do you think Zoe could kill Will?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Zoe's fucking feisty. She can probably choke him out.
This has to be in. You need to send me the timestamp of this moment. Send me the link. I'm sending this to Will.
Great. I'm sorry
if you weren't friends with Blitz before, you're definitely not now.
we went to mini dinners together. We were in a DOTA LAN team once. It was great. We used to. I think that we had like IHOP and an MLG once, and then Will got popular. We don't talk
all
anymore.
this way was worth it just for
It's
that.
probably my fault. Does he think that she can't?
I mean, William was like over 200 pounds, and Zoe was like 100 pounds.
Yeah.
And in a man fight to the death,
she can run circles around him for a little bit. He'd get exhausted in like maybe 30 seconds, and then
that's
she
the
could
same argument Zoe had.
Yeah.
This is the fuel. This is what I love.
Team Zoe, 100%. That's probably a good note to end it on.
If you also think that Zoe can kill Will, can you please tweet at me and then also tag Zoe and also tag
Oh, God.
Actually, also, no, I won't say that. Don't tag him. Don't tag the other one. I was going to say tag Jake.
Oh, my God.
No, but I won't do that. I won't do that. Just tag the three of us. Just tag the three of us. Please. Thank you.
Or a better alternative would be leaving it as one of your comments when you review this episode.
That's right, because if you don't know, when we touched on it a little bit, it genuinely does help us. We're like getting bribed with money to make the podcast more viewable, so we're passing on that bribe to you. Because like if you comment on iTunes and leave 5 stars, and we read it on the show, we're like mailing people stuff.
We are indeed.
Do podcasts do that? Is that okay? Is Apple going to find out and be like, tisk tisk? They got bigger fish to fry, right? Like, we're surely breaking some rules.
Are you?
They've got like
I don't know. They probably don't care.
they've got those suicide
they have,
nets
like,
around
factories in
their
America to lie
factories that
about.
they have to deal
Yeah.
with, you know.
That's
So
true.
it's
That's true. I think like they would have to listen to this entire whatever the fuck this just was and get all the way to the end to hear that. Like that's.
You could also leave some sort of suggestion on maybe how to make the podcast better, because again, we're trying
More
to make
music
this
cues,
podcast
more
the
fart
best
noises.
it can be. Yeah, anything like that.
Yeah, okay.
And in return, I will read your comment.
Oh, you actually have.
Charlie, would you like to read the comments? You can read the first 3. I read the bottom 3 already.
Okay. By Sunday Best. This podcast makes me want to punch BSJ right in the ovary.
I don't know why. I picked that comment because I was like, huh, that's weird. I don't think we've ever talked about BSJ on the
We
podcast.
haven't talked about BSJ. I got like fiery opinions about someone that I don't even know. We should do that eventually.
Oh shit. Okay.
God, aren't Kyle, BSJ, Grandcast insufferable? Am I right? Ugh.
All right. I mean, you gotta read this one. You gotta read this one. It says in your voice.
Oh, freaking awesome, man, by Gamer47 Pro. Great freaking podcast, man. Reading Cap's voice. Really, though, it's great. Love the chemistry between you guys. Love the laughs and tangents. Love the way you turned it all back to Dota somehow at some point. Really nice to hear your opinions and views on the Dota Pro scene. Let's us and honestly, 3K to 4K MMR folks feel involved. Keep it going. Please give me something to listen to on my hour commute. Daniel Kerr. Thanks, Daniel.
So it's gonna be disappointing for you.
Hi, Daniel. Thank you. That was very kind. I'm sorry.
And the third one.
All right. By Top to Proper. I've been looking for a good Dota 2 podcast for a while, and this one is the best. Capitalist is half of the greatest casting duo of all time, and Leaf Eater, the guy who invented the most boring way to play Dota, with his Jungle Necro guy, the other half being Trent.
I figure after having like 20 comments being about Joey and how great he is,
I
because
didn't
he
pull
planted
them.
those
I didn't
comments,
plant
I
them.
figured I would plant a comment of my own.
I didn't plan any of them.
No, but seriously, if you are any of those people, by the way, tweet at Joey, follow Joey at Leaf Eater with an O-R
It's bad
at the
branding.
end. It's
It's
again, terrible branding.
L-E-A-F-E-A-T-O-R. It's
But
really
follow
bad.
him
It's bad branding.
and
It's bad branding.
tweet at
There's
him.
a character in Ender's Game called Leaf Eater, and people start taking the name. It's like a pain in the ass.
Why did you call yourself Leaf Eater?
Because I thought it sounded similar.
You know what you should do is just go by Joey and stop at the Leaf Eater stuff.
I own all the domains. I guess I own my domains too.
Who the fuck cares?
I have all the accounts. Then people would have to say my name wrong all the time. It's not an easy name. It's fucked up.
What, Joey?
No, yeah.
Yeah, how do you say your last name?
Thimian.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, or they can just call you Joey.
Yeah. That feels better.
Joseph?
There's no it can't be Joseph.
Leaf Joey? Joey Leaf?
Jojo.
Dude, that sounds like a Pokemon character, like master or something.
Joey Leaf?
Leaf Joey. Joey Leaf.
My Rattata
Of the grass.
is,
Yeah.
I have a bay leaf, and I'm showing off all my Pokemon knowledge.
That sounds like Leaf Joey sound. It sounds like the first gym.
It sounds like a bad sound.
It sounds like the really bad.
It sounds like a bad
gym
SoundCloud
leader.
rapper. It's like, hey, I'm Leaf Joey. Here's my latest signal. R.I.P. Juice World. Like,
And we fit in Juice WRLD in the end. But yes, tweet.
I don't know why that was so funny, but
I mean, the fact that you could say that off the top of your head was impressive.
he had like one
but-
song. Most people should know it, right?
that's a good song. I like that song.
Tweet at Leaf Eater. God damn it. We'll
Let me
get
know
through this.
that we read the comment.
Yes.
I'll slip in your DMs. I'll send something to you. Hopefully you live in America because otherwise shipping gets more expensive. But like, whatever, committed to this, so we're good to go. Shipping's expensive. Fucking USPS.
Do you guys need merch to ship away?
I think I'm gonna make a little bit of some. I want to make pins. I feel like people like
We have our
pins.
posters. that's the merch.
All right. I got some old shit if you want it.
Oh shit!
Like I gave away one of the mice that won TI5 to like a friend like yesterday.
Wow. We we were gonna just steal stuff from the BTS offices, but
Okay.
Yeah, they do have a lot of leftover stuff.
if you have merch to give away, we'll take it.
Sure.
Nice.
I can say it was like this is like Fear's like armrest or whatever, and nobody would ever know.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go unbox new Death Adders.
Yeah.
Or was it a Steel Series team at that time?
We were still serious.
I'll go unbox some Rival 3, nice, and then be like,
some rivals, yeah.
and then be like, scratch it up a little bit and be like, yeah, it was fierce.
Yeah, we can sign it too. You know, honestly, half the signatures out there are like mine. like you know how like
I feel like of all the stuff we said, that's the thing I should cut.
I mean I don't care. I can say it now. Like you know how like sometimes there'd be giveaways or sometimes we have to like sign stuff or whatever, and they'd be at like really inconvenient times. You know, like there would be like they'd be like during scrims or during TI itself. I'm not gonna make Fear, who has this fucking arm injury, sign like 50 posters or whatever. So like I signed them. I got real good at like Fear signature.
There's a very disappointed Evil Geniuses fan listening
Someone
to
is
this
so
episode
upset right now.
They're looking at their poster and they're just like they're comparing all the signatures together and they're just like,
how is that?
Wait, they are similar.
Disappointed EG fan. How is that different from like how they felt for the last 3 years?
Man, someone is very sad right now.
Great stuff.
Everything is fake in Hollywood, everybody. Everything is fake.
Yeah, honestly, like the people that like buy like other signature stuff, come on, it might not be real either. This is and just so I can ruin the dreams of all the other like fans of other players or whatever. Your Kuroki or Puppy or Miracle signature, that might not be real too. It might not.
Damn it. I just want to believe. I just want to believe.
Remember, Joey, esports is shit.
And on that note, let's end the podcast because I gotta pee.
That is very important.